two of them, didn't you? Yeah. Didn't it?
You ready to get started?
I think so.
Ready.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Floresville Economic Development Corporation. It's January 12th, 2015. It's approximately 6:30 p.m. Present tonight, we have Mary Helen Teagan, new member Mr. Jay Pullen, new member Mr. Andy Jocelyn, new member Mr. Fred Gonzalez. We have new member Chris Talamontes. We have Jason Talley, myself, Ray Lamberth, the Executive Director, Tommy Baker. We also have with us tonight Ms. Henrietta Turner, the City Manager. Jason, would you lead us in the invocation?
That's correct. Dear God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve you in this community. We pray that our meeting would run well tonight, and the decisions we make would be to improve the community, that we would always make good decisions and treat each other fairly and have good conversation. We also lift up Mary Helen's brother this evening, as he has been really challenged with an illness, and we pray for him and the family that your will might be done, and we just ask that you comfort them. In Jesus Christ I pray. Amen. Or let's just,
Sorry about that.
well, let's move the flag out real quick if you'd like. Then,
Well,
or we can move the camera. There we go.
Sorry, it's right in the way. Didn't think about that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, and one indivisible. Before we get started here, I'd like to welcome all our new members to the board. We look very forward to working with you. We've had, some great success with our previous board, and look forward to working y'all moving forward. And we're really excited about the year in front of us. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments?
If we have any citizens.
Ms. Turner, you don't count as a citizen, maybe a little bit?
She's a paid citizen.
Okay.
I have no comment, but thank you so much.
Reserve your comments?
No comment.
Okay. Okay, then we can go ahead and approve the minutes of the regular meeting on December 8, 2014.
I've read those minutes. I move that we approve those minutes as written.
We have a motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mary Helen Teagan, second by Jason Talley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. So it'll be 3-2, 3-3, motion passes.
Yeah.
We have a treasurer's report.
Okay. Treasurer's report. I hope everybody had that in the packet.
Yes.
Because we have 3 months to report. Typically, we don't have 3 months. We stay real current, but this had to do with some end-of-the-year accounting adjustments that had to be done, and they couldn't, the way the software program runs with the city, they couldn't do those adjustments until they got the budget entered, and long story short, it delayed several months. Okay, so let me kind of give you a little history, because we do have some folks back on the board that maybe hadn't been here in a little while, and so we used to do this in-house ourselves, and really got things in good order, and then we made a decision to go ahead and let the city manage the books for us, meaning not manage the books, but just do accounting for us, all right? And the reason we did that is because, number one, it makes it transparent. The city can get the report when they want to. You know, they don't have to request it from us, they can print it. That way the city council sees these reports in their normal reporting structure, okay? And it also is the same format. So it's a reporting structure that everybody's used to reading, okay? So they charge us $350, so we have what's called an interlocal agreement with the city to provide that function. Connie Moreno's done a great job with that and has really streamlined the financial reports, okay? So good quality reports there. So what I'm gonna do is, this little summary here, I've actually asked her to not even provide that, because really and truly, we look at these numbers anyway, the whole time. So if she's trying to do something that's just repetitive, I said, really, it doesn't make any sense. And she said, thank you, you know, I don't know why I was doing it anyway. I think because the predecessor before her was doing it, and she thought that was something we wanted. So you'll just be seeing, you know, these reports that look like this from here on out, okay? So the budget that was established, and just a reminder, our fiscal year runs from October to September 30th, just like the city does. And this budget was approved and passed by the city council, okay? So this is our new budget for the year. So if you notice, we have the budget there in the left corner. Now, some of this is cut off. In the top, left column. In the top left, you see revenues, okay? So this first page is the revenues. You show the current budgeted amounts. You show the current period. So this first report I'm looking at, of course, is October 31st. That's the current period you're talking about. Now, the sales tax is what we get in every month. Goes to the city. It gets broken out, provided to the FEDC, their share. And then you see there some rental fees that came in that particular period, okay, $650. You also see a few other contributions. One is from the Paloma Senior Village loan. Another was a loan that we executed with F&W on a real estate transaction that we had at the industrial park. Okay, so you'll see these loan payments coming in every month on a regular basis. So for the total month of revenue that month of October, you see the $70,356.69. Okay. On the far right column, for those of you that are accustomed to looking at this budget, you see that our expenditures, or the revenue that we generated that month, represents 8.9% of the total budget. Okay, so that's what those numbers mean there. Okay, if you turn the page, then we get into the expenditures. So the top whole part of this report is salaries. Now, just want to kind of provide you just a little history about how this works. Tommy is an employee of the city of Floresville. We pay them for the health insurance, the taxes, the retirement, you know, all those kind of things. So whatever their cost is, we're just actually paying the city for that. Now, we do have an agreement with the city that simply states that the board of the FEDC, you know, is his boss, so to speak. Okay, so I forgot what the agreement's called, but we have a services agreement with the city. So you see their salary numbers there. Then you come on down to the next areas and you start to see different categories of expenses that you'll continue to see throughout the year. One of those was travel and training, and this would be more clear when we look at the check detail, and it will tell us who that was really written out to, okay? So this allows us, this current period, to always, you know, compare it to the budgeted amount, so we always know how are we tracking with our expenses, okay? If you turn the page.
I would just like to compliment Jason. Over the last couple of years, it's been his baby to bring this to the format that it is now. We had nothing when you came on as a new board. There was nothing like this available to us. So we've had to pull this together, and Jason has done a great job working with the city to get this to where it is today.
Yeah, a lot of work on
A
personal
lot of
time.
work, a lot of work.
Okay, the next page is page 3. This is what you're going to see there is under current budget, it says bond payment. bond payment is the bond that we have. There was an $8 million bond that we were part of, and that's the bond payment. We usually have payments due in March and September of each year. One of them will be interest, and then one will be principal and interest. Okay, so generally the payment, I believe, in September is usually the bigger one. Okay, so that's the budgeted amount for that payment. Okay, so the next page, what we have now, and you'll see this probably disappear over time, but on page 4 you see the beer warehouse. That's a property that we actually own, so we do have expenses for that, but we're in the process right now. It's been approved by the city council. It's been approved by this previous board to transfer the properties out of the EDC to the city of Floresville. Okay, so over time, you'll see some of these categories just kind of come to zero, because when that process takes place. So I'm hopeful maybe in the next few weeks, or do you know about when?
May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you may.
In reference to that, your attorney, Mr. Berger, right, has prepared all the deeds, and I met with Lou Rosenberg today, and we're doing just title to make sure we have everything done in title, and I'm hoping that the transfer and that will happen on the 22nd, but it's based on legal. So if it doesn't happen on the 22nd, our next city council meeting, it should happen in February.
Okay.
But we have the deeds and we've drawn up all that, so it's in legal, and we're hoping to do that. And just as a reminder, in exchange for the Bureau House,
Just one moment. I think they're a little.
Excuse that little thing.
Okay.
in exchange for, so the exchange was that it would be rent. We would not collect the rent anymore for a period of time, I believe it was around 6.5 years.
Right.
That was the beer warehouse, and then there were other properties. One of it's going to be Singing Frog Park, skate park, and other parks, and I believe there were between 5 to 6 parcels of land, but that'll be coming before the council.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing, so there's a lease line item in here, and that will be zero to at some point, just because of that property swap, okay? So the next property there is the depot. That's just been only some maintenance and electrical expenses. Then the next is the Heidi property. There was a proposed sign for that property. That's kind of the Lone Oak Drive by Angelica's Restaurant. Rancho Grande Business Park, that's, are we still?
We're having a little technical
Okay,
problem.
well, let's just hold off.
You don't have another tape recorder, do you? This thing.
This one starts and stops and starts and stops for some reason. We didn't put that in the budget.
Well, it needs to be better than that one, that's for sure. It needs to be one you hook up to the computer, you know?
Okay, the backup is that one. Right? That's
Yeah, that's
recorded,
correct.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, it'll be available on our website after.
Okay.
sure.
It's not
Tomorrow
too
morning.
good.
This.
Okay, so Rancho Grande Business Park, as you know, there's been quite a bit of work on the property. We're in the process of paving roads right now. And you see some of those budgeted items on the left. A big part of that's going to be professional engineering. You see mowing, which is another big expense, just to keep grass down in the right-of-ways, things like that. So most of what you see here for this current period for the month of October was just simply professional engineering. If you see, that's the bigger part of the expenses paid in that particular month. Okay. We turn the page now. Veterans Park. Right now, about all we have over there by the Veterans Nursing Home area where we own that property, in front of that is maintenance. And so we have mowing allocated there for that property. And then we have a warehouse, by the beer warehouse, only electrical. So that's kind of the expenditures in comparison to the revenues. If you look at the next page, this is a report that you'll be getting every month. And what this is a spreadsheet that shows you the sales tax revenue. So for the month of October, we're looking at $66,394. And it shows it comparative to the last fiscal year, the previous one, and so on. So it kind of takes it across the board and compare each month. So you'll be getting that report as well attached to this. Now, the next page then would be just kind of a check detail. And then that tells us who these checks were made out to, okay? So you've got Phelps, you've got Wilson County News for a little advertising. Berry and Partners is our engineering firm that's contracted with us for the work out there at the business park. Of course, Verizon, Howard Berger. Most of that expense there was a combination of probably working with the New Haven contract, which we're going to address tonight, and then also these business park swaps. I mean, I'm sorry, not business park, but property swaps with the city. L&M Construction, they do some cleaning, maintenance at the Fair Warehouse when it's needed. Barry Morrison, he's the gentleman that we had bid out contracts, and he does the shredding work, okay? And then this grant workshop was education training that Tommy attended, okay? So that's kind of the rundown for the month of October. Then if you go into the month of November, let's look at current period. You see $66,473.34. Well, right in line with about what it was the month of October. You see about the same kind of income, you know, from the loans, etc. Comes to a total of $70,351.42 in terms of the income that month. If you turn the page to page 2, salaries, I do want to note on the employee insurance, you're going to see a little elevated number there. The only reason is because the employee renewed, the city renewed their insurance policy, and it took a little while with all the new payroll deductions to hit. Okay, so what we do is we reimburse them for just the cost of what the health insurance is. Okay, so what this is a combination of about a month and a half because of getting those adjustments made. Okay, let's see. The rest of this will become more clear when we look at the check detail. Professional audit fees, I'll point that out. That was for a 990 tax filing that our auditor that we hire to do that, and that's basically what that represents.
Am I supposed to be looking at November right now?
We are, yes. We're on page 2.
Okay.
Current period. And then, of course, as you can see, the year-to-date actual then starts to accumulate more because every month we're adding to that year-to-date actual. Nothing on page 3 that's different because there's no bond payments. Most of this miscellaneous stuff with the Bear Warehouse was just electric, utilities, and the cleaning fees. Okay, anytime we rent that property for a function, there's a cleaning fee involved for that property. If you turn to page 7, the business park, you're going to see some expenses reflected there. That's going to be mowing. There were some taxes, that $415.13, what that was some taxes that was owed on a real estate transaction that we did in the business park. Okay, if you'll turn now to page, well, it would be 11. It's not numbered, but it's the grid. Once again, you see the monthly total as it relates. Yes, sir.
The professional mowing, if I read that correctly, it was $3,669 for 1 month.
What page is that on?
7.
Page 7.
That's a
Year-to-date.
possibility, just because I know there for a while it got kind of crazy out of hand, so I don't know if he had to do it twice. Did he have to run over it twice, Tommy, or?
Is that year to date or is that?
No, that's the current period.
He didn't have to do it again. The only thing is, I've asked him as weather permitted to try to mow the conservation area. And he may have charged a little more than normal to try to mow that while it's dry. Or
You mentioned earlier there's a contract with him. Is it a contract
for each job, or is it by hour, or?
It's by the acre, $40 an acre, and we have acreages off of surveys to verify that, so it's just that times $40
Okay,
an acre.
okay.
And actually, at the time he bid it, he was the most competitive compared to
Yeah.
other bids. so.
Okay, the problem out there for clarity is in the industrial park, there's what they call a conservation area coming through it, and it's been rooted up by hogs, it's been washed up, it has ditches. It's difficult to even get something one or two mow it. The guys that are out there as we speak, putting in the roads, we've spoken with them at their pre-construction meeting and asked them, you know, store some of your supplies or do something, but help us with this issue. We would like to get this leveled off and sloped, where we can sod it and get rid of this problem, that we won't have these huge expenses. They expressed, you know, they're more than likely to just do it for us as a favor. They didn't guarantee they would. But it's not a big idea, it's not a big, it shouldn't be a big problem for them. So I think we can just kind of hand in hand work together there. That's why it's a wasted expense, and they're gonna get fixed, and that's what fixes it.
Yeah.
One other thing for clarity of everybody, this machine is not working properly. The only backup we have is the machine behind me, or we can pause the meeting and try to find another machine. It's y'all's decision. Just want to make everybody aware, you know, it's not working properly. It's going off and going on, going off and going on. What would y'all like to do?
I'm okay with Wilson County News.
Yeah, I think we can continue.
Yeah. Just Tom, keep making your notes. Keep taking notes the whole way. Okay. So, let's go on now to the expense detail, or the checks, which is the last, next to the last page. Phelps Electrical, Payment Remittance Center, what that is there is a credit card with the FEDC, and those expenditures that Tommy has, like office supplies and things like that, miscellaneous, he can put it on that card, okay? And of course, we do pay it in full, we don't have a balance rolling. And anytime, and this is also information for everybody, anytime he presents checks for signature, there's a little report that's filled out about why this expenditure needs to be paid, and then he has attached the bill or the invoice. So, and then two people have to sign it for that process. Okay, so there's two signatures on each check. Once again, Howard Berger, accounting, and then I mentioned a while ago that tax collection of 41513 to the Wilson County tax collection or collectors.
And that was a pro rata share of closing on the 6 acres we had to pay.
Right.
After the closing, modded by.
Yes, and that was 6 acres that we had to purchase back, is that right?
Or this is I guess the Laredo Hydrotech.
Yeah.
That's property that was bought back from Motor
Yeah,
Hydro.
right.
And this is a partial year that paid the taxes.
Okay, so the next thing, we'll go to December. Now, when we do have our February meeting, we will have the January report, and we'll all. Now, the one thing I noticed right away, of course, is in December, if you notice there, current period has 0, okay? Well, what that means is, we had Christmas and all those different holidays, you know, we didn't get it credited there yet, okay? You'll see that showing up in the January statement, but we know what the amount is because we do have a spreadsheet here attached in the back. I do have a question, Tommy, on the Paloma Village loan. I noticed it was at 0. Wasn't he kind of caught up?
Yeah,
Okay.
stays about a month ahead.
Yeah, so he probably didn't owe us a payment for that December payment, so we'll probably see that again in January.
Yeah, I
Yes,
got
okay.
his check today.
And he's got that on the calendar and keeps track of that, making sure we receive that, okay? All right, as you go to page 2, go through the current period, some meeting expense, travel training, legal, general accounting, you'll see that 352.
I'm not finding December in my packet.
Okay,
I'm looking at it at one that says a total after one
Okay.
finished. That's okay,
Well-
just go ahead.
okay, so, is there an extra copy or not? Do you have December? Or Tommy, why don't you pass yours down and then I'll.
Here, hang that
I didn't
down.
see that.
We need yours for our notes.
I just wanted to make the point.
Yeah.
It really isn't anything.
Anyway.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go on to page 2. Well, that's where we were. If you notice, general accounting at $350 at the last bottom of that page there, that's the fee they charge us each month, all right? Page 3 is nothing different there. About the same kind of miscellaneous expenses on page 4. Page 7, once again, more engineering, et cetera. You're gonna see now, because I know because it's in check signatures, that you'll start to see the expenses. You'll see some big expenses coming out in January of the accounts because of the payments going out to the contractors, or the big contract we have out there, okay? At the time that that project was done, we recommended to pay for it with proceeds that we had in the bank, and that's the way that project's being handled, all right? You'll start to see more of those come out in that January report. So now if you look at the taxes that were collected on the grid, it's $65,416, about right in line with where we were. And then you'll see kind of a breakdown of different parties that checks were written to on the next to last page. Drew Designs is the person that works with our website. So occasionally we have fees to them to pay for various design updates, etc. And then, do you know which survey that applies to, Tommy?
Yes, it's, just a second. That was the 2 acres out in the industrial park.
Okay, the house.
Yeah, the house
Okay.
and 2 acres.
Yeah, there's a house and 2 acres still for sale, and that survey was part of that project there. So, I know that that's probably a little longer than we normally would take, but I wanted to kind of point out a few things.
Appreciate
And,
it.
in January, we'll kind of all be caught up, and we'll just have those reports come out. You won't have to look at 3 of them. I move that we approve the report.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the report and a second. All in favor, please sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 6-0.
Well, before we move on, I have a comment or a question. Mary Helen, you said that, and I appreciate that this is a very thorough, very nice looking report, very useful. But there were some reports that we looked at, not on a monthly basis, quarterly, that had essentially the same kind of information. I wouldn't say it's the same format, because you've done a great job of doing that. The grid to me is very familiar. We used to look at that every month. So maybe nothing was
Our board
left
didn't
here.
have access to
Yeah,
it.
but I was surprised that Ram didn't bring that up, because Ram used to be one that always was asking, let's do this monthly, as opposed to quarterly.
Brad and Jason.
Well,
Yeah, but Jason goes back a long ways, I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, the only reports that we actually had was, we did have some QuickBooks reports, but there's a lot of categories we had to, change.
Yeah, and I understand the format is, I think, better, much clearer.
Right.
But my point is, there were some things that we tracked, and I think you're familiar, you attended most of our meetings, and they essentially covered the information necessary for us to know where we were. And I remember very specifically the grids, and I've got all kinds of copies at home, so I can bring some
Well,
just to give you an
that would
idea.
be interesting to see, because we had nothing.
Well,
We
again,
had pieces of paper with handwritten.
and I don't doubt what you're saying. I'm simply saying, when we were running the meetings, we had that information. We didn't do it monthly as far as the depth that you covered tonight, but we did have that, and we have the grids all the time, every month. So I'm assuming, because, I wasn't here when Mr. Pettis left, that he didn't leave anything. That doesn't mean that we didn't use it. We did use it. And we were well aware of where we were at the end of the year. We did the budget reports and so on. Now, we may not have had the proper formats that, say, a financial controller person would have, but we had enough information to make proper decisions. I just wanted to make that point, because
Well,
we did not.
Just speaking
Well,
for myself.
I think at this point, it really doesn't matter at this
No,
point,
and
because we've
again-
got this moving forward.
No, I
so.
understand, and I appreciate
Right.
that, but my point
It
is,
wasn't there.
I don't like to leave something that I don't agree with hanging,
Right.
particularly when I was part of that,
Sure.
that group.
One thing I'd like to add, Fred, and we're gonna cross this bridge numerous times, I think. There's nobody here on this board that I know of that wants to cast any stones at anybody from an old board or anybody that was directors or otherwise, but we're gonna keep tripping over things that we did or didn't have, or did or didn't find. They're not meant to be insulting or anything toward anybody. It's just, it's verbiage, because the office wasn't a mess when they did go in. And so just because we say we didn't see it, it's not meant to discredit
No,
anybody.
I understand that, but nevertheless, having been part of an
Yeah.
organization that I thought was doing a great job, maybe not in keeping records or the proper filing or whatever you want to call it, but as far as the essence of the business, I don't think that anybody that you know here in town that really pays attention and cares to come forward would say that we were doing, or that Jesse was doing anything but a good job. The paper trail, the properness of the files and all of that, I don't disagree with you. But as far as the essence, the substance of the business, I will, because we were very meticulously concerned and took this. And again, Ray, I don't want to have disagreements or arguments to begin with.
We're all on the same team.
Right, and we are. And
It's
you'll
old
find-
news, Fred, and we've just decided what was, and we're moving forward.
Exactly.
We're gonna leave it behind.
And I was here at the beginning, you remember when I said, let's put your stamp on it, let's go forward.
And I think you'll agree, and so if that ever pops up, when it pops up, just understand, there's nobody meaning anything
Well, I appreciate
insulting
that, Ray.
at all.
And again, I'm not taking it that way, I'm
Okay.
simply making a correction, and just to make sure that whoever's here knows that I don't feel the same way, that there were things in that
We
much of a
can agree to
disarray.
disagree on some things.
Yeah, and we will.
We moved past that, I think we've made a lot of progress.
Absolutely.
And so,
And I don't
let's
have a
just,
problem with that.
let's all grab the ball and run with it
And I'm
together.
here to do the same thing, as always,
All on the same page.
as always.
Y'all don't have to excuse my voice a little bit, I'm kind of raspy. I spent too much time talking to you.
Sounds very manly.
Yeah. Okey dokey, do we have, that completed our finance report? Do we have anything on personnel?
I don't have anything right now.
Okay. That'll move us on into the executive officer's report. Tom?
I put dates by these just, because I keep notes on the calendar and run through it like that, but basically, I have, I guess, for about the last month and a half, been working to start a business alliance breakfast meeting to bring together Floresville businesses to talk about their businesses, to cross-sell, to do referrals, to listen to common needs of businesses, and be sure that those are listened to. And basically the purpose is to have a 1-hour meeting that's very punctual. Nobody is out an expense. There's a continental breakfast, and if you want to eat, and I hope a lot of them will, because we get the room at no charge at Jack's. But it's basically to improve communications between the businesses and help our businesses to grow by knowing who your neighbors are and what they do and what you can provide, your business can provide, and then they can provide for you. And that's, the first one is coming up this Wednesday at 7:30. As Henrietta's already mentioned, item B, I've been working with our attorney on specific deeds for trade properties. And basically, these are properties that really don't have a purpose for FEDC, like the beer warehouse and the depot. There's some outlots, and several of those are connected to the hike and bike trail. There's interest from the city to take those and try to build upon the hike and bike trail for our tourist attraction and so forth. And so I've been working with Henrietta for the last 2 or 3 months, because this is a big project, trying to find the deeds to properties, and we're almost there. I think either the late January meeting or early February council meeting, this should be approved. And for us trading those properties to the city, we will get 7 years and 9 months worth of free rent in my office here in the building. So rent is $600 a month. So I feel like that we've cut a good deal for both of us, and we're just about there. We had an instance of a project manager that was previously employed as a contractor before I even got here. He's had some issues with IRS, and so I had to call in our bookkeeper that at the time to try to pull his records for him to supply to IRS, and that's what happened in item C. Item D, I met with the owner of Caparelli's Italian restaurants in Pleasanton and Livonia. I met with them in Livonia, and that's pretty much their showplace prototype for a restaurant. They are in a strip center, a new strip center, 2,000 square feet, and he wants to be in Floresville, but wants the same sort of setup. He's been looking for 3 years, and a key to getting more retail and restaurants in Floresville, I think, is to incite somebody to put in a strip center or strip centers, because everyone wants to sell downtown. The prices are exorbitant, and the condition of the properties requires a lot of front-end work to just get it back to where it's leasable. And this is clean cut, 2,000 square feet. They'll take care of the finish with an allowance from the owner, and they can be in business. And so he's very much wanting to get in here. It's just trying to find the strip center that we don't have any of right now, don't have any inventory. Try to get that done so that he will move in. I think I've talked to GNC, the vitamin store. They want to be in a strip center. And I've got a husband-wife chiropractors that would also be interested in so many square feet in a strip center. So I've got a backlog of people I can hand over. It's just trying to find one, land that is not overpriced, which is very difficult to find now, and two, to find the developer to come in and buy the land and be able to pay the price in order to put in that strip center. So we're working on that. Everybody wants more restaurants. I do too. So, that's one of the things that I've been working with this restaurant. On the 17th of December, Ray and I met with two investors out of a group of investors that is interested in building and investing in office slash warehouse, office in the front, warehouse in the back, or warehouse storage. That's their forte. They're out of San Antonio. I think they're strong as onions. And so we've had several meetings with them, and that's coming along pretty nicely. On the 19th, I attended the city Christmas luncheon. On the 23rd of December, the 90-day feasibility for the 4.38 acres in Veterans Business Park expired. I have a letter, and that's on the agenda later, but I have a letter from New Haven. Basically, their one of their equity partners decided he wanted to retire at the end of 14, and now they're asking for another 90 days to try to find a substitute equity partner to come in. And basically they'll do, they do 4 16-unit pods on that 4.38 acres. One pod will be assisted living, and the second pod in each unit will be memory care. And so they'll build 2 at a time, let the market catch up, then build the last 2. They've been at us several times in the past, and so I think they're
I have a letter from them, a copy of a letter from them in 2009 on the same topic. And it was very promising at the time, and I'm not against doing it again. That's just that it's been.
And we'll discuss that in executive session. You and I have agreed and talked about this. This would be good for Floresville. What we've got to watch is that we don't fall prey to a repeated 90-day, you know. But I think this one certainly will give them time to put things together. Starting tonight, we have 12 veteran grant students that are having their first class in welding at the high school vocational welding lab and classroom, and that is the first, I guess, success in not trying to put together a training center, a trades training center in Floresville to offer residents and citizens and veterans the opportunity to get specialized training, improve their paycheck, and start the ripple effect of economic development in Floresville with a place to live, buy groceries here, buy gas, go to the restaurant, all of those things. Trying to get them bigger paychecks is where I think we need to go as a community. We're labeled as unskilled labor. We need to change that. I cannot attract companies that want to come to Floresville and hire unskilled labor. And the deal I have worked out with Alamo is we come up with a minimum of 10 students per class. They'll teach any class their 4 colleges allow. So for instance, if I can get 10 students paid for by their employer to do construction trades, we can do the class, and they'll come out with certifications. They've got a program they're working with Holt Caterpillar on the business end of operating machinery, and then the classroom. It can go, you know, for anything. I mean, plumbing. It can be customer service, employees, safety, anything. And that's one of the things I want to bring up at the Alliance breakfast meeting, is to say, we have a way to get your employees trained. If you want it, tell me, we'll book, we'll book 2s and 3s or 4s or whatever until we get to 10, and we'll have a class. And I think that's important for businesses to grow and the community to really be known for skilled labor.
What happened to the effort that FISD was gonna have with the new high school?
Well, what the program is now is dual credits for certain programs, but it has nothing to do with trades.
It was marketed as, they marketed it as said they were gonna do trades.
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
think they did some, and I think they still have aerospace and a few other things, but I don't think it really,
If you remember, one of the
It
things
probably
that we
doesn't
were
have the
told was
depth.
that you can't have adults
And
and students in the same classes, and that's what was occurring.
They were
And
commingling
You
in.
can't do that.
So that's why we're teaching classes at night, when students aren't around, and, that's phase one, the way I look at it. Phase two is to, as crazy as it sounds right now, after I read an article about, the oil slump and how it's affecting Eagle Ford, but I still think that there's, a place for skilled labor, in Floresville and Eagle Ford, such that basically we can get these people trained and hope that they find driving 25 miles to work either way, into San Antonio or into Eagle Ford, a doable alternative, living in the country, raising their family, and our community benefits by that ripple effect.
and I think another thing we talked about too is that, it'd be interesting to kind of track these 12 students, get to know who they are, and just see
Where they go.
what effect it might have had for them. So I just want to say, Tommy, thank you, because I know that you just kind of took this and ran with it in meeting with Alamo College and Floresville ISD. So it's a start of something very affordable.
It's truly a Tommy project.
Right.
Well, I just believe in it. I believe that we've got to improve the personal income of families in Floresville. All kinds of good things happen when that happens, and the only way to do it is to train people to get a fatter paycheck and spend it locally as much as possible, and help businesses that need those training skills, help them grow their business in Floresville, or be attracted to Floresville. Even manufacturing, they have manufacturing technicians as part of this Veterans Grant Program. So, if we're pumping out 10, 12, 20 manufacturing techs out of the training center, it will draw attention to manufacturing companies that say, hey, I need people to grow, I need people that know what they're doing, I like your training program, I'll locate there and grow my business. So it's a multifaceted approach to economic development. And it doesn't cost anything. At phase two, I want to try to get Eagle Ford companies to help financially to find, to help us find the location and build buildings in order to continue to offer classrooms and labs for whatever training, is necessary.
What about the area of technology? Is that an alternative?
I think that has fizzled out as far as I know of it. I mean, they have, I don't know that they have any students at the high school in Aerotech.
No. Did you say Aerotech?
No, technology.
Just
Oh,
technology.
technology. That's available, what I'm gonna be asking companies, and even companies here, is tell us what you need.
Yeah.
And then we'll customize it, because after a long period of working with pretty high executives in Alamo, they came to me with Alamo College, Alamo Corporate College can customize training to whatever we need. Now, Alamo College, you have to go down and take Accounting 302.
Yeah.
But this is customized training. If we can come up with 10 students, then they'll bring the instructor and the curriculum and track them and get them all certified by the state, and they can take that and go out and earn a bigger paycheck.
Tommy, have you talked to them about what the tuition fee is for the students? I know that was one of the
Yeah,
the
I know.
hurdles and obstacles that people encountered, because they did have, as you mentioned, promoted that as after-hours type of training, but people would go and say, I want to take these courses, and it was outrageous, because if you
Yeah.
weren't a resident of Bear County, then you have to pay a
Right.
higher
And-
tuition.
Yeah, and that was part of our earlier discussions, what happened there. And they said, basically, the taxpayers in Bear County pay for this, and if they're not in Bear County, then they're gonna have to charge higher fees.
Sure.
But with this corporate college, for instance, all of these that are now students are using veteran grants from the state and federal government. But I had an individual here at City Hall who wanted her son, 23-year-old son, to go through welding training and get a job and basically move out of the house. And so I asked them what the tuition would be, and they quoted me $700, which is very reasonable. I mean, I think that the value they put on these grants is $1,700 to $2,400. So, and that's fully loaded. I want everybody to understand that, like the school district is getting reimbursed for the use of their welding machine, the supplies, the gases, all of that. They tell us what was used in these night classes, and that's reimbursed out of the grant tuition, so that nobody